Welcome to Overtime the Podcast, a show dedicated to all things watches, with a special love for micro brands and their affordable range. I'm your host Praka, and some of you might know me as Kinda Average Watches. Join me as we explore new releases, share tips on building your collection, and put in some overtime with hands-on reviews of the latest watches. Whether you're a bit of a pro or you're just getting into the hobby, this podcast will keep you entertained with great stories from the people in the industry, casual conversations, and guest hosts who bring their own unique perspectives. Let's get started. Welcome to Overtime the Podcast, proudly sponsored by Watchpoint. How you doing, James?
Oh, I'm very, very well. And I have to say, having listened to this podcast for a number of years now, that little intro I always thought was recorded, but you say it live every time.
I do. Yeah,
you do.
It's not bad. Hey, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's just so spot on that it's like, hello, welcome to sponsored by Watchpoint.
Initially, when I first started doing it, I had a little card like next to me, just so I don't forget what I said. And then on one of the episodes, I stuffed up, and I think it was one of the very first episodes where we first started getting sponsored by Watchpoint. So I said something else, and then I heard it back in when I was editing, and I was like, oh man, that's not consistent. That's not good. So I cut out.
Had to cut some out.
Magic of editing took out that and re-recorded just the start, and then spliced it together. And I think that worked pretty well.
It worked. I actually used to do that in a video the other day. I was reading out the measurements of a watch, and for some reason I said it was a 59mm case. I have no idea where that came from, so I had to do the same thing and cut it out. But we're not talking about that today, are we, Praka?
It's a diesel spec. No, we're definitely not talking about diesel spec watches. We're talking about something, well, actually, we're going back to our series that I started a while back, and I think we had 2 or 3 of these and sort of died. So my bad. But, we thought we'll revive all that. Before I introduce the episode, though, I would love to know what's on your wrist. What's on your wrist, James?
Well, I'm being consistent. The last couple of times we've done a recording, I've done a double wrist 2 watches. So I thought I would do that today. And specifically, I themed the watches to this particular episode because on my left wrist, my main wrist, which I actually have been wearing the last couple of days, is my Hamilton Jazzmaster Traveller 2 GMT, one of my all-time favourite watches. It's a watch that has, this watch has been a big part of my watch journey. It has taught me things. It has changed my opinions on things, including partly of what we're talking about today. And the other one is my Vario Empire GMT on one of their custom Vario straps.
So that is a Vario strap. I didn't know that was a Vario strap. I thought that was one of your own straps. That actually looks really good.
Yeah, it's really nice. And it's funny because I got the bracelet for it thinking, I think this would be great on the bracelet, and it's nice, but I've ended up switching it back to the original strap because it's fantastic. When I was there with Ivan at Vario, he actually paired the strap for me. So what about this one? And he changed around and said, oh yeah, how about this one? This one will be good for this color of dial.
Yeah, grey and blues work really well. Sort of like an Epsom blue. I really enjoyed that on my wrists when I did try it on not too long ago, but that was awesome.
Not too long ago at all.
Very good. Very good. Well, I don't know if I quite paired mine with the theme of the episode, but I'm wearing the trusty Seiko Turtle on the original strap. Now, why did I wear this? I was in the pool today. So, I said I like to wear this watch when I go to the pool or some sort of water-related activity. I actually did some laps in the pool. We went with the kids and they were playing in the kids area, and then I was like, you know what, try and do a bit of exercise. Did some laps in the pool with the trusty Turtle, and it does the job. And of course, I have it paired properly on its original rubber strap, and probably my favorite pairing on the Turtle, which is funny because I like swapping straps around. As you know, I like swapping different things, but the original is probably still my favorite on this. And I think we've given away the title. Obviously everyone knows the title of the episode. So why don't we introduce the title? So this is Watch 101, straps, bracelets, and bands. We've done a couple of these Watch 101s in the past where we talked about various things. If you're new to the hobby, you might want to know a couple of these things, tips and tricks and the like. So I think we sort of touched on straps in the past, but this one we wanted to go in a bit more detail, give you guys a flavor of all the different variations of straps and bracelets and the like, and also some recommendations as well, what we think are great. And we'll also, of course, leave all the links in the show notes, and we'll try and do a range. Can't promise that it'll be all the way, but we'll try and get a bit of a range on what we think is worth the money or what we think is really good quality. And this is not a sponsored episode, by the way. So, if any of the strap brands that we spoke about would like to sponsor it, sure, go ahead. I'll be more than happy.
I'm more than happy to receive some spare straps.
Exactly. I can never get enough. Let's start. When you buy a watch, it usually comes with your whatever you buy it on, right? You buy it on a leather strap, usually in the dressier type watches, a rubber strap like this Turtle on something that's a bit more sportier, or a bracelet if it's a bit more, I guess, sport/elegant as well. But sometimes you don't want to wear that all the time. And I think I've said this before in the past, but a lot of people don't actually know that you can change it, right? Everyone just thinks.
I've come across this a lot. I've shown them a watch and they've said to me, "Oh, no, I'd never buy that." I was like, "Oh, you don't like it?" And they've just said, "Oh, no, I just don't like the strap on it." And that kind of exploded my mind a little bit because I thought, they're choosing not to buy a watch because of the strap. I would have thought it was an obvious thing, but then that's probably a little bit unfair. I'm a little bit too watch obsessed. So perhaps I'm just too down the rabbit hole myself.
That's right. To be honest, when I've had watches growing up, but I never really got into watches until, what's that now? 7 years. But prior to that, I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. I always wore whatever it was on. So only by getting into the hobby proper, you realize, wait, there are different things. So we thought we will talk through a couple of different things. And I think the first thing is actually, I'll let you introduce that because you posed a question before we started the podcast. You said, I want to talk through this as the thing that's going to start the episode. So James,
it's about sort of what are you reaching for now to wear? What do you want on your watch today versus maybe earlier on your journey? Because I know it's been such a change for me. Like I only ever sort of in fact, the first mechanical watch that I got in my teens, which was a watch that I didn't take off, I wore it day and night for 8 or 9 years, was a Black Diver on. I'm going to show Praka on the screen. This is actually a new version of the strap that was on because my dad gave me this watch on this NATO strap, and then I got a spare strap with it, and this is the spare still in new condition. So I was on a NATO strap. And I hate NATO straps now. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't like the look of it on me, that the bulk of it on the other side of the wrist. That's for me. It's not the look. It's not the feel of it. It's not the material. I don't mind like a canvas strap or maybe a single pass type thing, but it's that bulk on the other side. But there's just no way I could wear a normal NATO now. And I then progressed straight across to sort of bracelets, and that was it. I was bracelets only. But it wasn't until I bought this Hamilton, the one that I'm wearing today, that's on this ostrich leather strap that is a beautiful quality strap. But also I bought this watch secondhand, so it was a worn-in beautiful quality leather strap that I suddenly thought, wow, not all leather straps are the same. And maybe they just need to be worn in a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. But leather straps, some of the ones that you get from the big box brands, I found out of the box, they're very stiff. And I think it does them a disservice because they're not necessarily bad quality straps. Like you say, Hamilton, you got that there. Ostrich is pretty nice. I'm looking at stuff like Longines, even some of the higher cocktail time Seikos and things like that. They're not terrible straps. They're not the best, but it's mainly the reason why is because they haven't been broken in. Still very stiff. They don't bend. They don't curve around your wrist very well. They sort of stick out before they come down. So, yes, I get what you're saying. But to go back to, I guess, what I started off with and what I ended up with, before I started collecting per se, I did have a watch, actually one watch which I was wearing, which had a leather strap, and I can't even remember the brand. I think it was just a fashion brand, or it was a knockoff. I don't even know what it was. It was something I bought on a holiday a long time ago, and it was a brown strap. and I liked it because it had a nice brown strap. So I wore that as like my nice watch. And other than that, I had a DLC coated, sort of all black, Kenneth Cole, again, another fashion brand. I think they're owned by Fossil, but like a dressy type watch. And again, it was on bracelet the whole time. So I never took it off. So bracelet was my thing. And when I started collecting watches proper, I really liked bracelets. Bracelet was something that I liked wearing, but I also liked leather. But I never had anything very nice in terms of leather. It was always, I guess, like just I bought a couple from AliExpress, which I thought was not that great, but then again, I didn't pay a lot of money for them, so I think it's a bit I think it's a bit unfair if I just said, oh, they were bad because they were from AliExpress. But then I slowly started trialing the different brands of leathers, and then I got hooked. Like, I have so many leather straps now in there, which and wide ranging prices as well. And I think now I'm spoilt that I can't really go back in terms of my leather choices. Sometimes I can almost look at leather strap and go, no, that's poor quality. I can't wear that anymore. Not to be snobby, but you just know that there's better out there for the money that you're paying. You'd rather go and do that. But when you say go to, during the week, during my work week, I like wearing leather most of the time. But when I'm doing something a bit more sporty or whatever, then I'll wear a rubber strap. And I actually have loved wearing these sailcloth FKMs. Not sure if you've seen them. They're awesome. And we can talk to that a little bit more when we start talking about more sportier straps, but amazing. They just mold to your wrist really well, unlike regular sailcloth. So for those who don't know, I guess we can start off with sailcloth and, as in work our way through some sporty straps. But sailcloth is basically the material that's on sails, boat sails.
That they say that it doesn't actually feel like that at all, though, because I've done a lot of sailing in my life, but it's obviously got some of that sort of material in it. To me, it feels like almost like a rubbery kind of plasticky coated, canvasy kind of feel.
That's right.
Which,
yeah.
But it's obviously related the material wise a little bit. But I've always found them very, very stiff.
Yeah.
And even when I've tried to wear them in, I've struggled.
Yeah, and that's exactly my experience too. Sailcloth is one of those things was meant to be, I think, introduced as durable, hardy. You can wear it when sporting water stuff, and it's great. And then I think it serves its purpose, but it's not very comfortable to wear. It's quite stiff. It's quite rough. You may break it in eventually, but it's not great. And these are the ones that I've tried, which were roughly anywhere from 10 Australian dollars up until about, I've even tried one which is about close to 50 Australian dollars. All the same, basically. It was nothing great.
I had some that were $300. You probably know the brand, but I won't
think I do.
I won't name the brand because it's unfair, and it's nothing against the brand. I like the brand, but I couldn't break them in, or perhaps I couldn't give it enough time to break it in because I just couldn't. The time would have taken. I would have had to really invest some time, which I have done with some leather straps. So I have done that with them. But I know their newer versions are softer apparently. So I think they've evolved too.
Yeah, that's the new versions I'm basically talking about, which is these sailcloth FKM. So the sailcloths basically have that sailcloth material on top and then down the bottom as well. So you both have stiffness on both sides, whereas the sailcloth FKM has got the sailcloth on the top, and down the bottom you've got this FKM rubber underlayer. So that gives you that, a bit of flex when it allows you to flex around your wrist very well. Still keeps that water resistance as such. Less breathability because now you don't have the perforations on the sailcloth going all the way through. You've only got it in just on the top, and you've got the FKM under. But it looks the part, but wears way more comfortably. So that's my peak, my go-to. So if you're looking at a sailcloth and you're like, I love the look of it, but I hate the way it wears, give that a go. Definitely.
They call them the hybrid strap.
Yeah. So some brands, the one that you mentioned, I think they call them the hybrid sailcloth. But they're everywhere. To be honest, if you type in FKM sailcloth, you'll find it from eBay to any website to AliExpress. You'll find it. They're basically very similar, except for the premium ones might be a little bit different. But I've got one that I paid $17. I love it. I'm going to turn around and show you. because I can do that. But anyway, so we started off with that, with the sort of sailcloth and FKM sailcloth. In terms of sporty straps, what other straps would you recommend?
So I'm finding more it needs to be the right strap for the watch, because I know I can't seem to relate to rubber straps as much as I like the look of them, as much as I think they're very convenient, especially in the climate that we live in. It's very warm, especially at the moment, and which is why I tend to wear bracelets a lot at the moment because it's so hot outside. I like the idea of grabbing a rubber strap, but I then just can't really gravitate towards them, which is why I then like it on certain watches. I've got this completely outrageous watch which you saw the other day. It's by Bonest Gatti. It's kind of like a skeleton carbon fiber, fully crystallized thing, but it's on a black strap, and it's rubber, and it sort of looks a little. It actually looks a little bit like the sailcloth on the top, but it's all sort of just out of rubber, and it just suits the watch, and it looks right, and it feels right, and I wouldn't put that on a leather. So I'm finding I think the right strap for the watch is, for me anyway, more important than should it be leather or should it be rubber or should it be a bracelet or should it be then the right style. And I think the other good example of that is I've got my father's Seiko Pogue, or that's the Aussie Pogue if you want to be a little bit more pedantic about it. And when I got this from him a while back, I had it all serviced and restored, and I actually bought the Uncle Seiko original bracelet, or not the original bracelet, but the original
recreation.
The recreation. And I just found I never wore it. And I just didn't know why, because it's a cool watch. But then for some reason, I just stuck on this Vario Bund strap, which is not a style which I normally gravitate towards at all. It's normally just not my style. And now I wear this watch all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that the right strap for the right watch is what makes it. Is how you select a strap. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm sort of like that, but I'm very much like, what is the scenario that you're bringing the watch to? That's how I try and pair it.
So you'll pick the watch you want to take, and then you'll adapt the strap to ensure that
exactly. So for example, today was very easy. I needed something with water resistance, and it had a rubber strap on it. Done. I had my Helios Seaforth, which I would have also liked to have taken, but I had it on a leather strap. So I was like, well, I'm not going to bring that because it's not suitable for the activity that I'm doing, even though the watch was suitable for the activity I was doing. So yeah, that's my thought process. But coming back to sailcloth, so this is the sailcloth that I've got. And on the back, you've got, as you can see, it's quite stiff. The whole thing it's not as stiff as it was, but it's fairly stiff. It does the job. Still got the quick release so that you can swap it out easily. Pretty solid milled buckle. And then I upgraded to this. So very similar. So yeah, sorry folks that are obviously listening and I'm showing you this, but I will have all the links in the show notes. So as you can see, the top is still very much the sailcloth material, but the bottom is the FKM. This is one of those ones which has the deployant clasp on it too, but it doesn't really matter if it's deployant or not deployant, but it just makes it so much more malleable. Look at that.
You can see it. One was it looked like a piece of wood, but now this one, it's just bendy, which is what you want. You want that because you want that comfort. You want to wrap around and feel nice. And
exactly.
Some you put a little bit more effort into than others. I know my Herodlin Turbine Pilot watch, which I love. The strap that came on was so hard that I thought it was a really cheap crap strap. But then I started working on it, and then I realized it's actually just a slab of leather. So it took me a couple of months of just literally, I was sitting there at night sort of bending and bending and bending, and now it's beautiful. But it was so hard that I thought it was a piece of plastic almost. That's how wrong I got it. But it was,
it's interesting you say about that kind of leather. A friend of the show, a friend of the podcast, and a good mate of mine gave me this trick. He said, grab a cup and put the leather strap into the cup to get that, and try and make it the sort of similar circumference to your wrist if you can, and leave it in there set. So it starts curving naturally, and then put it on. And another tip as well is the end that's closest to where it affixes to your watch. So where the spring bar is, it's usually the most stiffest as well, because it's usually where the thickest portion of leather is. He said, instead of trying the whole thing, just hold that bit at the end and slowly work it at the end, because what makes it more comfortable, and I think I sort of mentioned this before, is that you want it to curve naturally at where it connects to your wrist. Doesn't matter so much if the whole thing curves, but where it curves at your wrist, where it actually contacts your wrist, where just out, just at the edges of your watch itself, your watch head, that's where it makes a big difference. And that's also one of the reasons why I love this Seiko rubber strap too. These fins are so comfortable because that's what they're made to do. They're so bendy,
Made to
right?
curve,
They're made to curve. So yeah, tip for young players out there.
It's also when you're buying a strap aftermarket or things like that, it's look at the design of the strap, not just the look or the shape of things. It's that little bit near the spring bars, just like that Seiko strap where it has that design. Other straps, like other Seiko straps, even like the leather straps, they've got that double width or things at the spring bar, or they've got all that padding in there, which makes it really difficult to bend. So if you're looking for something that out of the packet comfortable, you're actually looking for a relatively thin or consistent sort of width to the strap from spring bar to the end.
No, that's a good, very good tip. And I'll circle back to that one when we're talking about leather straps, but I want to talk a little bit more about rubber straps as well. So again, because I know you say you're not really into rubber so much, but I'll talk about it because I wear rubber straps quite often, actually. Another one that I liked is this one right here, which is actually from a company called Wristchecks, UIS. I know I said this episode wasn't sponsored, but they did give this to me for free. So there you go. But it wasn't for this episode. This was a long time back. So this is I don't think this isn't FKM. This is a natural rubber. So the difference is when you pick this up and you smell it, it's got this vanilla scent to it. And I don't know how they do this, but the strap smells absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And it is.
You're walking around just sniffing your wrist.
Well, I know it's a little bit weird, but like a really good leather strap has this beautiful smell to it, right?
Oh,
yeah,
it
okay.
does.
There you go. Don't
now
make me sound like I'm a weirdo.
I do have a story about smelly straps though, because I remember when my early 20s, I went and bought a nice sort of dress watch, but it was also a fashion watch, but it has on a leather strap. And for some reason, I didn't link the idea of me sweating and wearing a leather strap to be an issue. And there was this weird, funky smell occasionally, and it took me ages to figure out it was my watch strap. I was like, I just didn't link it at the time. I was like, okay, don't wear leather when you're sweating.
Yes, Dad. Leather and sweat don't go well together. And moisture and leather don't go together at all. But yes, rubber, this beautiful natural rubber, it's really nice. Wiss makes some great stuff. And I like this because it feels different to other rubber straps. I mean, I've got FKM, which is, I don't know what the FKM stands for off the top of my head, but FKM's nice and pliable, but it doesn't have that same softness as this sort of natural rubber stuff.
Fluorocarbon material.
There you go. One note with FKM, apparently it's not great on the causing cancer front. Apparently so. So again, I don't know how much of doses and whatnot. So if that is something of concern, I would research that a little bit more and have a look.
So don't consume your FKM strap.
Well, yes, or maybe wear it and then let it leach into your skin or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, so far I've been okay, but hopefully. But FKM rubber straps, super malleable, super easily wearable. And then here, this one is another FKM that I got here, which is a tropic strap, which I think are great. Tropic strap is fantastic for a rubber strap. Would you say they're about 50s, 60s, the design on the tropic straps?
To me, I always think of the early dive watches when I see tropic straps, but that could also just be me.
Yeah, very much an early dive watch type thing. And the back, it's got this nice waffle pattern, and that is great for breathability. And they just look the business. They just look so good on dive watches. I don't know what it is. Any dive watch on tropic strap, primo.
How do you find the tail of the straps when you wear those? Because you got a smallish wrist as me. And I think it's one of the reasons why I don't connect a lot with rubber straps is because I get a lot of overhang.
I think depends on where you buy them. So some brands like Joseph Bonnie, which I think are the original makers of the tropic strap, the word tropic came from, which is this design and I think the material as well. They do different sizes, so you can have them slightly smaller. But the ones that you buy from most of the strap shops, so be it AliExpress or eBay, or for Australia, you got Sydney Strap Co. or Straps Co. or something. They're all going to be very generic lengths, and they're probably a slightly too long. But I guess that's a great segue to talk about wrist sizes and strap lengths. So, as James said, I have a smaller than average wrist, and James's wrist is slightly bigger than mine, I think. But we're
It's
all
only a fraction.
my fraction. Thanks, James, for making me feel a little bit.
I don't want to feel bad about your wrist size.
But when I order straps, and this is particularly leather straps from a decent company. And when I say decent, okay, I probably take that back. Decent is from a company that has made to order straps, or they offer that sort of service, so a bit more bespoke service. They usually have different lengths. They got large or XL, large, medium, and small. And what they do is they measure the top part of the strap and the bottom part of the strap. And usually this is on a large ones. I think they're about 120, and I think about 75 or 80. Again, don't sue me, but it's usually that. And on the smaller end, they're about 105 and 70, or 10 and 70. Those are the different lengths. It always pays to measure your wrist beforehand to try, and there's so many charts out there. For example, Artisan Straps in Australia, if you shoot a message to them or send an email and say, hey, look, this is my wrist size, what should I go with? They'll generally give you a bit of a guide and say, look, if you want it to be a bit tight on your wrist so that you're on the second last hold or the last hold, then maybe you go a small. But if you want it to be a little bit looser, something, then you go a medium. So it's actually really good, something that you can use. Deluxe do the same. I think very similar. You can see your wrist size and then you can pick it. And I'm sure there's plenty of other strap brands out there that do the same. I think Bulang and Sons as well, another leather strap company. There's some really good stuff. Kai in Singapore, also, again, fantastic leather straps and bespoke stuff. But again, they just say, what length do you want? Or you say, well, I want this, I want that. So it's not even just set. You can literally go, you could be like, I want 103.5, and whatever you want, they'll do it for you. But obviously it comes at a cost. Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of those rubber straps, one thing I do really like about rubber straps is because obviously it's in a molding of some sort. They can do things like the lugs fitting into the lug of the watch. But more than that, I like the first little keeper that is those little ridges.
Yes.
That I like how they can do that. Saves those little keepers from running away from you.
Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't really think about that actually, but yeah, that is a clever little design. Yeah, rubber straps, I think, they have such a big range. You could even go your standard silicone straps. So for example, button straps, which are about $20 a strap or somewhere around there, and they make some great stuff. Silicone is a pretty decent sort of material. This is a silicone strap right here, but the only thing is it collects dust.
Yeah, that bugs me. I find they're a little bit flat as well.
Yes, they're not as malleable as FKM, and they also, I find, relatively sweatier than FKM and natural rubber as well. But these are the material that you'd normally see in like a lot of your fitness bands, your Garmin's and all that use this. There's a brand called Samco in AliExpress, which I'm pretty sure is the same as Barton. So sorry, Barton, but check them out. They're pretty similar stuff. Yes. So I guess speaking of rubber and, talking about how you can do cool things because it's all just cake holding. I have the strap, a Dorenzo rubber strap. It's so white that the white balance is acting up on the thing. And obviously you're going to have, not every watch is going to have a lug that's going to be standard, right? You obviously got your standard lug widths. You got 20 mil, 22 mil, 19, 18, not as much standard, 21, and you try and get the lug widths of the the watch that you have to match your thing. And that's very important. I probably should have said that from before. But your lug width of your watch, where your strap or band connects to your watch, that inside width, that's very important. That's what's going to tell you what strap you need to buy. So don't buy a 22 mil trying to fit it into a 19 mil or a 20 mil. It's not going to work. And some watches, like integrated sports watches especially, have fancy lugs, funny lugs, you could say, like this. This is for the Dorenzo DRZ04, which I bought and I haven't tried on yet, actually. So it's here. I will try it on, but I love the bracelet too much. So, but this, you need to go to the OEM for this. Usually, it's hard to buy a aftermarket to change out your sort of odd shaped watches, and then you have to go to your OEM. In the case of Sergio's watch, so Dorenzo, it's beautiful. It's a nice natural, similar to the Wiss one, but this one's just a bit more nice ridges in the back, and for your sweating, I guess if you sweat too much you can go in there. So yeah, something really cool. But OEM, that was a bit of a what do you call it, ball in the air for you to start talking about OEM stuff.
I was hoping you were, because this is the biggest tip that I have, and something that I do all the time, is when you're looking for straps, it's good to look everywhere, and there's some cheap stuff which is actually good, and there's places like Vario, which I love, the Vario straps and Deluxe and all these things. But there's nothing stopping you, if you find a strap from a known brand, going and just buying the strap, because this Jazzmaster that I own with this ostrich leather strap, it's my favorite strap of all time. So I went looking for just the strap, and there's a website which I use called Masters in Time. No affiliation. It's a European watch store, but they also sell OEM straps and bracelets. And I've ended up buying 2 of these ostrich straps for my other watches. And they actually come with the nice deployant clasps as well, which then gets rid of that whole tail issue because it tucks in, and they're really nice. And also then learned another trick using this, because I've bought a couple of watches secondhand on the leather straps, but wanting it to be on the bracelet. Buying it on the bracelet costs more, quite a bit more normally, and you end up with a secondhand bracelet because you've bought a secondhand watch. So what I've found, and I've done this 3 times now, is I've ended up buying the watch on the leather strap, getting it cheaper because it's less desirable on a secondhand leather strap. Gone onto this website, Masters in Time, and then bought the OEM bracelet.
Wow.
And it's ended up being cheaper than buying a secondhand watch on a bracelet. But I've ended up with, well, firstly the leather strap, but then a brand new bracelet. So it's a nice little trick. It doesn't always work, but I've done it a few times and I've ended up with a better bracelet and a cheaper deal.
See, that's very interesting, because 9 times out of 10, anyone who asks me to, I want to buy this watch, should I buy it on the bracelet or the leather strap? I always say go bracelet, because it's always cheaper to buy the watch with the bracelet. And then if you want to swap something else out, you can, because buying the bracelet separately is more expensive. But in this case, for Hamilton, it's not, is it?
Or when buying used.
Okay, understood. All right. Okay,
so
there's the important distinction.
That's the distinction, because of Seiko, and I've done it with Seiko twice on this website, because you can buy Seiko OEM bracelets and they're not very expensive.
That's great.
But yeah, the benefit is you end up with 2 straps and a better quality bracelet because it's brand new, and it's something that I use. And even when I bought my Mont Blanc Nicolas Roussek, buying that on the bracelet was much more expensive secondhand. It's a 15-year-old watch, so you had to buy it secondhand, than buying it on the leather strap. So I just couldn't justify, I couldn't find it. So I then called Mont Blanc and said, hey, can you buy these bracelets? And they said, yes, we've got one in stock. I said, how much are they? And it was a lot of money, but it was less than buying it on the secondhand watch. So that's what I did. I went and bought it on the leather strap and then ordered that brand new bracelet. So in some circumstances, do your research, because it can
Pays
be
off.
worthwhile doing.
Interesting.
And I was thinking, because I've even gone and looked at IWC, because their straps are lovely. Obviously, they're very expensive, but sometimes you can buy these straps from strap companies, but you can also buy the OEM straps. And if you find one that you just particularly like, and I do particularly like a couple of certain things, like my Hamilton strap.
Yeah.
Well, just buy more of them. So I've got a couple of watches with a Hamilton branded strap.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No one's looking at it. Doesn't have to be the perfect match. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, again, completely different. This is rubber, but this Seiko Turtle's rubber strap is fantastic. It's so different to, say, the rubber that was on the SKX, or which is a little bit stiff on the stiffer side. The strap is so good. I would buy this and put it on my. Actually, I intend on doing that. Is buying the exact same strap and putting it on my Seiko SKX A30, which is the SKX but in yellow. I actually wear that quite often on this strap. I take this off, put it on the other one, but that's something that I would do. I would rather do that than I have other straps that I bought specifically for that, but I still keep coming back to the OEM for it, which is, again, very different to majority of my other watches, which I tend to swap to different things like leather or whatnot. So cool. All right. Well, I'll definitely chuck that link in there. And I've already broken my rule of, I make sure I put all the links to all the stuff, everything's, I've just been chatting away, name dropping all these brands, and I haven't done any of that. So I've just made life a little bit more difficult for me later on, but that's okay. That's fine. That's okay. If you're into microbrand and independent watches, which you clearly are as you're listening to this podcast, you got to check out Watchpoint. Watchpoint is the newest destination in Melbourne, Australia for microbrand and independent watches. But it's more than just a brick and mortar store. It's a hub for watch enthusiasts. Come check out brands such as HZ, Bazel, Second Hour, RZE, and Montbray, and other exciting watches you won't find anywhere else. Watchpoint is also your go-to website for buying said watches, exploring microbrand profiles, discovering new releases, and staying informed with editorials, industry insights, and buying guides. So if you're keen on trying out your favorite microbrand watches, drop into Shop 304, Level 3, the Block Arcade on Collins Street, or visit watchpoint.com.au, or check them out on Instagram at watchpoint.au for more. Let's talk leather, because we spoke about your OEM leather, and I sort of dropped a couple of names before. So stuff like in Australia, Artisan Straps, got Deluxe in Singapore, you've got Atelier Kai in Singapore, Vario in Singapore, you have, don't know if this, you have Sydney Strap Co, which is another one in Australia. There is Handin in Vietnam that do some really good stuff as well. There is many out there. There's actually all these sort of smaller, more boutique ones. There's Tuns Strap, TUNS. They do a lot of custom stuff as well. There is Has No Bounds in Hong Kong. Also do some fantastic stuff. This is Shell Cold Oven right here. Again, very, very good. I'm looking down, I can see Artisan, Deluxe. They're just solid, and I think they're very well worth the money. How much you pay versus what you get, I think it's a good balance. So just off the top of my head, something like a standard Babel leather. I think this is Babel off the top of my head, like a dark brown chocolate Babel. I think this cost about 120 Australian dollars. So what's that in US dollars? Yeah, at $80, putting you on the spot.
What about color? And especially when it comes to leather, because just for me, it's quite a important thing. For some reason, I can't connect very well with black straps unless it's specifically fits the watch. Like I've got a couple that, like again, that very funky watch I showed earlier, the completely bonkers crystal case thing, which is on a black rubber strap, and I don't like rubber, I don't like black straps, but it looks great and it suits the watch.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a few black straps.
I have a few actually. When you talk about black straps, I've got this one here, which is a black Pueblo leather from Artisan Straps. On the back of it, Zermatt lining, beautiful, beautiful leather. I also have a dark grey suede strap here as well, which I think is, black
nice.
Adjacent. It's from Deluxe.
Grey's.
Yeah, dark grey is nice. And again, I think we're different in that sense. We're fundamentally a little bit different in leather, is that you pick the leather strap to match the watch, whereas I pick to match the rest of what I'm wearing. And, to be fair, I do pick it for the watch as well. It has to look decent with the watch. But but I like to match it with what I've got. Like a couple of months back, I went to one of my really good friends, school friends, and also my wife's best mate's wedding. And I wore my Zero TD on a black leather, actually that exact black Pueblo leather that I showed. And before that, I never wore that with a black strap. It came with a beautiful African kudu leather from Atelier Kai with a sort of natural sandy sort of desert color and purple stitching because, why not? Because you can do that. But because it was a black tie event, and I wore a tux and a black shoes and all that, I went, I have to wear a black leather strap. Can't, black tie event has to be black, and it worked really well. I thought it was a great combo. I did drop some photos of it in my Instagram if anyone's interested. Yeah, I think it worked really well. So black, definitely. But other than that, I don't really wear black. I tend to wear black leather straps where it has to be a bit more of a contrast. Funnily enough, when I was wearing my Astor and Banks a lot, the polar white style, because the indices had this darker outline, like a black outline, so it was very great contrast in the hands and the indices versus the polar white style. I wore that on a black leather strap, and it looked really good. So I think you need to match it. And I love another color that I absolutely love is like a darker olive. I reckon it works really well in a lot of different dials. Silver dial, white dial, perfect. Even some colored dials might look good too. Maybe less so on black dials, but definitely a nice contrast. So this is Shell Cordovan from Craft and Tailored, which is another fancy strap brand, which I didn't pay for full price, by the way, because I bought it off a mate who copped the full price for me. So thank you very much. But definitely another nice brand to go check out. Yes, color's definitely a consideration. And to be honest, you can buy pretty much any color that you want, and I think it's going to look good as long as one doesn't have to always match what you wear. I mean, or what the watch color is. I mean, I had on the ZOTD the other day, I wore a green strap on it, which seems insane. It's a purple dial with a green strap. I call it the Joker combination.
That's what I was thinking.
It was inspired by one of our fellow Red Bar members that had it on his can't remember what watch he had it on, which looked really cool. I was like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then it worked out really well. I think if you just want some color or you just want to try it out, give it a go. Like, I don't think there's any rules on what it has to be. Yes, I said, I wore a black leather strap for a black tie event, but whatever. I could have worn a dark brown, light brown. I could have worn whatever I wanted if I wanted to. But I think that's what makes it cool with straps in general, right? You can customize it.
Play with them. So a topic in relation to that and changing straps to suit. One of the reasons I don't swap straps a huge amount is that I'm slightly worried about damaging my watch. It's not the only reason, but it's in the back of my mind. I know I've put little scratches on my legs occasionally, and it freaks me out a little bit. The other reason is I just tend to find the right strap for my watch, and it just seems to stick with it, and that seems to be the right one for me. You swap it out a lot more than I do. Do you ever worry about
some troubles?
Yes, or have troubles? Yeah.
Yes.
The quick release and stuff certainly makes things better and easier nowadays. It's still not on every strap.
No, definitely not.
It also doesn't stop you scratching something as well if it slips down.
Correct. Yeah. So I have many watches that have, like, dive watches in general have a very good little thing, nifty little thing, which is called a drilled lug. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, but basically there's a hole right next to the lug. So all you need to do is push down with a spring bar pin on the pin side, push that out, and bang, it just disengages your spring bar and pops out easily. Makes life a lot easier. So even if you don't have quick release spring bars, you can just push a pin in there and it pops out. Changing straps makes it very easy. When you don't have that, and especially when you have a strap that has, or a brace that has a really tight tolerance, it could be a nightmare. So my Tissot Gentleman, for example, so I've had that for how many years now? Nearly 5 years. And I don't change the bracelet on that myself. I know it sounds crazy, but I don't. I cannot for the life of me take it off the bracelet. And I have the tools, but I still just can't because I always seem to scratch the thing or try and, I'm gouging at it, holding it, pushing it on one side of the spring bar, trying to lift up this thing, nah, can't take it. I just couldn't take it out. Let's step back a second, right? How do you even change these things? If it's easy enough, like I just said, use a spring bar tool, push up. It's a spring bar tool. I think it's probably, the spring bar tool is basically a tool that allows you to change straps on your watch, and some of them are great, some of them are not. So James, show me a good one.
I can tell you from experience that you can get a very cheap or even free spring bar removal tools when you're buying watches. A lot of them even come with them, and most of them work, and I used them for years. And then I splurged one day a few years ago on the Bergeon spring bar tool, and I then questioned why I never did it before. It's accessory for $28, or when I bought mine for $28, like $20 US. It's worth buying. I use it all the time, and it stopped me scratching stuff as well because I'm doing it better. The little ridges is that on one end there is like a poker which you can push into that sort of drilled lugs, and the other one is a little U-shaped tiny little minuscule thing that hooks into the end of the spring bar, the little springy bit. And the cheaper quality ones bend, and they'll work once, maybe twice, but then they'll bend. And then as you move, it will scratch your lugs. The Bergeon doesn't. I've used this one 100 times, and the little end, which is replaceable as well if they ever did break, but it still looks perfect to me. And I wish I had bought it a few years earlier.
So this is, exactly. So I've got the exact same tool right in front of me. So this is the Bergeon 6767F. Mine's the F because it's got the fine tip at the end. I'm not sure. Is yours the F as well?
Mine's the 6767. Doesn't say F on it.
Yeah, mine doesn't either. It's just that tip at the end is the fine tip. So you can actually change that to whatever you wanted. This was one of the first ever spring bar tools I started using. And it's funny because I use this in most settings, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I actually use, I love actually using a smaller screwdriver. So a screwdriver with a smaller tip. So sometimes I like to shove it on one end, depress the spring, and then pop it out. Again, it really depends on the watch that you have. This is another one that I tend to use sometimes as well. This one
looks like a San Martin one. That's what it looks
Erebus,
like.
Actually.
It's an Erebus. It's an Erebus. There you go.
So, yep.
I was actually going to mention that the only actual spare spring bar tools that come with the watch that I actually like as well is the San Martin ones. They are actually really nice.
Really high quality.
Yeah, I still end up using the Bergeon more, but if I was going to not use that, they're the ones I tend to revert to.
And I think they work really well. The 6767 is it's a good cheap thing to buy and to add on to. But then
how much are they now? Because I did recall someone saying
I think I paid $38 for mine Australian dollars, so that's roughly less than $20 US.
There's still $37 Australian on Amazon.
So I might have paid a little bit more than I should have. But anyway, another tool, which is this thing, which it's kind of like it's another spring bar tool. But so instead of so at the end of the tips, you've got two forks, and then you've got like a spring here. And the idea is that you adjust the width at the end where your forks are to the width of where the spring bar holes are. And then all you do is you push it in, and then that just contracts the spring bar, and then you pop, and then you put a bit of pressure underneath the bracelet and boom, pops it off. This is great for bracelets. I find this is very good for those really tight tolerance bracelets without any drill lugs or anything like that. I have used this on my Tissot. I'm still not very good with it.
I struggle. And for those that are listening, it looks like an industrial set of tweezers.
Yes, correct. Industrial. That's what it is. An industrial set of tweezers. I'll try and do a short of this bit. But anyway, it looks pretty.
I've struggled. I've got a few different versions of those.
Yeah.
Albeit I don't have the Bergeon ones because they're a little bit expensive.
Yeah, this one's not the Bergeon one.
I've never had much luck with them, and it might be. Maybe it's user error, and it's likely to be user error.
There's another one on top of that one, which is also a Bergeon tool. It's actually a tweezer tool. So it's very much similar to that, except it just looks like a regular tweezer. But those are fantastic, and they work really well with those tight tolerance braces. So So your Rolexes, your Tudors, even Tissot's, what they have there, basically, there's not a lot of play where you can stick a 6767 spring bar tool in there. You use those and use just a tweezer, squeeze it, and then push. And then all you do is you push up a little bit, bang, comes off. Again, fantastic, but a little bit more pricey. I think they're about 250 Aussie dollars, 280 Aussie dollars off the top of my head. Eddie, shout out to Eddie. He's got one of those, 5 spring bar tweezer, and they're really good. How much are they? I can see them for 259 Aussie dollars in Amazon. I think if you do have watches that are like that have those sort of really tight tolerance bracelets, your Rolexes, your Tudors, and the like, I think it's worth buying it. Definitely makes it a hell of a lot easier to take a bracelet off. But again, still need user to figure out how to do it properly, because you can still have the tool and still end up scratching the back of your watches like terribly, which I did.
But that's a worthwhile thing to note as well. Like, we have some more expensive watches in our collections, and I'm not talking about high end stuff, but then we freak out about spending $30 on a tool. If I've got a $1,000 watch or a $5,000 watch or a $200 watch, I don't really want to scratch it, so I'm probably better off spending that $30.
Yeah, pay a little bit of money and less headache later on. So yes, great ones. And then you have some of these even high end stuff, which is the Bergeon 7825 is expensive as is, but then you've got this deluxe bracelet removal tool, which is pretty fancy. They've made the tweezer type tool a bit more refined, and they've set it and they've made it in this small little handheld thing, and then you just bang, squeeze it, and it comes off. It's 305 Australian dollars.
I'm just looking at it. It looks like the letter H almost with a It's but I guess again, I'm just looking at their website, and it's showing them the use of it. They're putting sticky tape down to save the lugs, but they're doing it on a Tudor. And if you own a $5,000 Tudor, well, $300 on a strap removal tool it's not unreasonable. Why use a $5 tool on a $5,000 watch?
I actually was listening to Tailored to Wristies. So Chris, he mentioned that one of his pet peeves about Tudor, and specifically the Black Bay 58 bronze, is that they give you a NATO strap to swap on, to put on, which is an OEM NATO strap, but the bracelet is not quick release, and it's a pain to take off and put back on. And most regular people, don't really ever change straps or know what to do or have the tools to be able to do it. So it just seems a bit strange. I think having the ability to quick release a bracelet, like for example, my Christopher Ward C63 Sealander GMT, the bracelet is fantastic, and it comes with little pins, and you just depress it, boom, comes off, and easy as that, depress it, pop it back on. It's such an easy system. Cartier's bracelets is amazing. Very similar, except you don't even have to depress this. All you do is you press a button down and it sort of opens up.
I love those.
The Cartier's changed it.
One of my predictions is that button release type bracelets are going to start coming out into more watches in the future, because I've seen them on a few now, and it just gives it that next level of ooh factor. And those ooh factor type things that come in the higher end watches does tend to trickle down eventually to us.
Exactly. It should. It's been around for a while, so Cartier might have it patented or something along the line. But definitely,
I've had a couple of micros that come with a button press type things, and one even that you press it, you don't even have to look. You can close your eyes, and it just clicks in, and it's amazing. And I did want to mention, since we're talking about straps, that a lot of these known brands in the Seikos comes with their specific straps, but also I'm finding, especially in the micro brand world, is that sometimes, not all of them, they actually put a strap on it literally as like a place saver. They're putting the time and the energy into the watch, and they're saying, well, we're not going to go spend another couple $100 on a strap that you're likely to switch out. Let's just put something basic in there, and it's up to you then to add a better strap. And I kind of like that idea, because if you are somebody that switches out straight away, why get charged up front for something like that?
I'm a bit on the fence on that one. I feel like a brand like Seiko or Citizen or any of those sort of big box watch brands, it makes sense for collectors to not pay as much for a nicer straps. You're happy to save some money on the strap, and you're going to change it out anyway, so that's fine. But I think majority of their sales for someone like Seiko is the people that are walking into the shop in the mall and grabbing one, and their experience of that watch is now cheapened because they've got a less desirable strap. When you know that Seiko do some really nice leather straps, but they just they don't want to put it on them because, well, like you said, they got to save some money somewhere. Whereas, for example, let's pick Vario, for example. The leather straps that comes with that watch is fantastic, and the price is, it's a very reasonable, affordable price for the watch and the leather package. So it doesn't always have to be that way. But I get what you're saying. Yeah. So Vario is definitely one of them. Who else? You've handled plenty. Was it Paria? Their leather strap was really nice,
beautiful.
Wasn't it?
Very, very nice. And because that one was so matched to the watch, because each strap was different depending on the color of the watch as well, that was also nice. And that's something I do like about micros as well, that they are, it's almost the opposite of what I just said. It's they are very specifically pairing the strap to each of the watches, which is nice. But I do have something, because I know a lot of people listen to these episodes, and I do appreciate it, and I do appreciate being part of it as well. But I've got an idea that I'm throwing out there to anybody that will listen, and it relates to straps because I just want people to start doing it. If you're a micro brand owner or a big brand owner and you're going to produce a watch, can you please make the lug ends fit something very standard, say like an SKX 007 bracelet? Make your own strap, make your own things, but then it gives us the opportunity to buy a bracelet like the 007 bracelets, which are readily available. I just think it's such a great idea. If I ever created a watch, one thing I would do is I would make the lug ends fit the 007, because you could buy so many aftermarket 007 bracelets. So you now have a watch where you could buy all these different bracelets.
Very clever. Yeah, because your lug ends, or I guess the bit that is, because you don't necessarily have to keep an SKX case. It's just the lug ends. You can do it.
Just where the bracelet, and then
the end links, where the end links fit onto your case. Yeah, that's a very clever idea. Yeah,
I think so, and I'm happy to give that one away, because I just want little more watches. Because then you could produce a watch with a nice leather strap and say, I'm not producing a bracelet, because you can go onto Strapify, or you can go onto whatever these things are, or you can go to AliExpress, where there's, and I say 007 by the Seiko because there are just so many aftermarket bracelets for that watch. And there are other watches, but that one seems to be the one that there's thousands of the things.
Yeah,
just make it fit one of them.
That's a great point. End links is a great point, especially if you're buying aftermarket bracelets, because leather, rubber, it's fairly easy enough to, as long as you got the lug width on most watches, it's going to fit correctly. A watch like a Cartier tank, for example, it's a very thin watch, so some thick leather straps is not really going to fit it properly, and it's going to rub up against the case, or where the gap, even though the width might be correct, but the actual height of the spacing between the case and the bracelet might not work. But where was I going with this?
I can go down a rabbit hole of spring bars and the different widths of spring bars as well, because you get those nice chunky ones which just feel good, and then you get the curved ones which, if they fit the leather strap and they fit into the case, lovely. On that note about bracelets, because I know certainly when I really started to love watches, and I was so keen on bracelets that I was looking for aftermarket bracelets, and I found one on AliExpress. This is the engineer one, and it's lovely, but of course it's got a flat end to it, which it's hard to wear a watch on a bracelet that doesn't beautifully fit into it. What are your thoughts on a straight edge bracelet?
I think they look okay depending on the watch. In general, I'd like the end links to be made for the case and it fits in. A straight link, I think, works well on a mesh bracelet. I don't know why, but a mesh bracelet,
gets away with it, doesn't it?
Gets away with it. Somehow it just works. But other than that, no, you kind of want it made. That's where I was going to say, sorry, a friend of the podcast, he bought a fairer Lander GMT, and he already had a fairer Resolute. I think that was so. Yeah, he already had a fairer, which is that he had the bracelet for, and he wanted to put the bracelet onto his other fairer. And even though the cases are very similar, the end link just didn't quite work. So, and because the end links it was a solid end link, so it wasn't a hollow end link. So hollow end links, you can basically, all it's holding together is a spring bar. You pull the spring bar out and the end link just comes off, and you can replace it with anything. And hollow end links are actually kind of good for if you're trying to fit a bracelet which isn't quite the right one, because you can
bend it a little bit.
You can do some things. I've done that on an old 70s Seiko. It's like bending it, trying to fit this. And solid end links, because they're great because they're solid. It's going to fit a lot more sturdier, but you need to find the exact one. He reached out to Farah and said, "Hey, I'm looking for, I'm trying to do this. I think it's going to be okay, but I'm looking for an end link. Is this possible?" And the end links are screwed onto the case, so it's a bit different how it connects onto the bracelet. And they were like, "Yeah, we can send you some. We can't guarantee that it's going to work because we're not sure, because it's not made for each other, right? It should work, but we're not quite confirmed. But hey, we'll send you some, and as you want it." So I think bought it, got it, and it works perfectly. So now he's got 2 sets of links, but the one bracelet that he can use for both watches saves him about $200 or whatever it is to buy a bracelet, which I think is great. It's good to be able to use the same strap for multiple watches. So that's why I love leather straps and 20 mil leather straps, especially because you have your 20 mil case design, unlike some of my 19 mil and 21 mil watches. It's not great. But let me just have a quick look at what else that we wanted to sort of touch upon, because there's so many. This it just goes forever. I just realized I just completely skipped over one of my biggest topics that I wanted to talk about. But you know what? We can save that for another time, because I just realized we're past the hour mark.
We are,
and we'll come back to this. I feel like we're going to touch more about bracelet straps.
You think straps like that? That's not a topic, is it? But apparently it is.
It sure is. It sure is. And I'm going to do my best to link everything that we spoke about in the show notes. I'm going to have to do some listen in very keenly when I'm editing and get all the links in there, because I didn't write everything down.
Let me throw some more in there just to piss you off.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, add more stuff in there. But no, definitely I'll add some stuff in there. I might even add in some post note stuff too, some other brands that we think are great and you should check out, or some other additional tools that we've used to check out. Actually, before we do that, I do have one of these things. That's right. So this is great. So this is a watch case holder. It's actually a watch movement holder. This one right here. This cost me, whoops, I dropped something.
Hopefully not a lot, because it just went on the floor.
That was just a screw that was holding something in. Anyway, no, it didn't. This whole thing plus a bunch of other tools cost me like $10, real cheap. But it's great because you can hold your watch case in there. It's nice and secure in a plastic thing, so it's not going to scratch up your watch whilst you fiddle with it and try and take the spring bars off if so you need to. So again, a nice little thing that cost me not a lot of money. Nice little, something that helps while you're doing stuff. All right, now let's call it there.
Can I just add the one last quick thing? I sort of said it is tastes evolve in watches, but also in straps. So if you never liked leather straps, in a year or two, give it another go and try a few different ones. For me, it definitely evolved, and it's evolving. I'm trying to make myself like rubber straps. I hope one day I might. But yeah, I think it evolves just alongside watches as well.
That's a great point. I used to wear a lot more NATO straps. I don't as much. Not because I think I don't like them. Like what you said, you don't really like NATO straps. I just don't wear them as much anymore. Like you said, my taste is evolved. I used to wear a lot of parachute straps or Marine Nationale type straps as well, which are basically elastic type NATO straps that have hooks on them. I loved wearing them. I used to wear them all the time. Now I hardly touch them. So now it's just rubber and FKM and leather and bracelets more than anything. So yeah, I don't know why it evolved, but it definitely does. So great point. Very good point. All right. Shall we go on to the something interesting portion of the podcast? What have you got, James?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I'm not sure if it's interesting to anybody else, but it's sort of blowing my mind at the moment because I just upgraded my television. And I upgraded, and when I say upgraded, my TV that I had was 15 years old and it was going strong. It was a 62 inch or 65-inch Samsung. It was LCD or great TV and never had an issue with it at all. But I just was ready with a recent move and a few upgrades to buy something a little bit special, a little bit bigger. I bought this Samsung OLED 77-inch and wow, it's a big jump in size and technology. And I was just watching it earlier and I knew the blacks and the greens and the blues would be nice, but it's the reds. The red almost burns my retina. It's great. I love it.
Awesome. When you first took a photo of the TV and sent it to me, I was like, man, that's a big TV.
It's a big TV.
But the technology is really cool. I'm very much like you. I haven't really learnt anything about TV tech in ages because one of my TVs is about 10 years old. The other one, an LCD as well. I think also a 65-inch LCD. And then the other one is kind of new. That's I don't know, some form of LED, but not the newer ones, not the OLED ones. I'm like, wow, it looks cool. But yeah, seeing those OLEDs, it's something different, isn't it? Yeah.
You know what I found was quite annoying, and I didn't realize because I'm buying something new. I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to look at reviews. I jumped onto YouTube and I watched these bunch of reviews. I wrote down, oh, this has to be the TV. I looked it up, and they're not available in Australia because different models of TV are available in different parts of the world. And I didn't know that because I was watching these American reviewers. They tend to be more of the tech reviewers. And most of the TVs they were talking about aren't available in Australia because they were North American based products. Even something they said, they were talking the other way. They're saying, oh, there's this amazing Philips, but can't get it in America. It's only available over here. So that was frustrating. So I even gave up on the reviews and so yeah, just went and looked at it and went, yeah, that's pretty. I'll take that one.
Yeah, nice. Oh, didn't realize. I guess because when most of the reviews I watch is for watches, and
Me too.
you tend to, surprise, surprise. No, but
Yeah.
you don't really kind of get
Yeah.
everything worldwide. You can get any watch wherever you want. Where for most parts, you just got to pay an import tax or whatever. You can get it.
Mm. So
So,
it turned out to be, or at least from my experience of my little thing, was a bit more like cars. They're not available in every country.
true.
It was a bit more that experience.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, all this false advertising. You can see all these TV car ads on TV, and you're like, "Oh, that looks really cool." And then there's fine print down the bottom: "Overseas model shown may not look exactly
Yes.
like." I'm like, "Oh, then why do you show that? Then that's the cool model. We don't
Well, I
get it."
don't like when they come out with these awesome looking prototype type future designs. They go, oh, that's fantastic. And then they go, oh, this is the car that ended up coming out. It looks nothing like it.
Nothing.
Yeah, the wing mirrors are the same or something like that. So what's your something interesting?
What's my something interesting? I also bought another TV, but that's not the interesting thing. No, my something interesting was I finally finished Stranger Things. Stranger Things, I think it spoke sort of, probably everyone in the world's probably watched it, but I finally finished it. I really enjoyed it. And I know there's, from a lot of stuff that I've seen online and even people I've spoken to, they weren't very happy with how it ended.
Nobody's ever happy with how things end. Look at
That's
Game of Thrones.
exactly what. Yeah, well, no, Game of Thrones is pretty bad. Game of Thrones ending was awful, but no, I think that was universally awful. Everyone was like terrible. But Stranger Things, I thought it was good. It was a nice way
I thought it
to
was good.
wrap it up in a nice little bow. And I think no matter what they did, they could never give it the sort of grand ending it deserved. I thought it was such a critically acclaimed show. Me saying anything doesn't really make a difference, but I just think it's a bloody good show. Brings in all the nostalgia for people who, I wasn't around in the 80s, but after watching that show, I felt like I was part of that. You're very much so part of it.
I'm definitely from the 80s. I was born in 1980, so it's definitely my early years, and there's something, I think everybody obviously has their nostalgic eras of when they grew up, but for some reason the 80s was just cool.
But yeah,
maybe that's because I grew up in the 80s.
exactly. But no, it was just awesome. Nice, always gave it. It was so thematically well done as well. Just across there was no. I mean, there probably is holes if you look at it, but as you watch it, it just seemed seamless. It had all the themes, and even when in the latest season, I'm pretty sure they're in early 90s or they like just crossed 1990 or something like that. And there's elements of that coming up. And anyway, I thought it was super cool. And I'm pretty sure spotted a watch as well. Pretty sure it's the Timex, Stranger Things. In one of the scenes, I need to actually do some research on it to see if it is that exact same one. But anyway.
That's the other thing about the 77-inch OLED. Great for pausing and watch spotting because you can walk up to the TV and the watch is bigger than your head. No, not quite.
Oh, that's great. For those, 1 or 2 people in the world that haven't watched Stranger Things, go check it out. I think it's a nice ending. I definitely enjoy it.
And just pretend they're not as old as they actually are in the series because
it
was the only tiny little thing. Is you forgive that because it was such a great series, and it's just the way that things work out. But it was like, oh, they look a little bit older than they probably should be at that stage, but that's okay.
It's funny though because in this era, so maybe the 2010s and later, a lot of the TV shows tried to be very, like you say, realistic with ages and what they, but back in the day, you had 30-year-olds playing 15-year-olds, teenagers. Yeah. I mean, exactly. Look at was it Grease or whatever? So in fact, they were actually very accurate to the time.
True. There you go. We should throw that online. We'll get some traction. Well, we are. This is online.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Put it out to the world. Yeah, that's come to the end of the episode. Great time chatting away, and we could have carried on for even longer, and we'll be back chatting again about something else very soon. But listeners, haven't done a lot of this much. But, give us your follows or your likes, your thumbs up, however it is on whatever platform you use, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast app. Really helps with the reach and helps reach new audiences as well. So please, that'd be awesome if you could. And shoot us a message. Shoot me a message on Instagram. You know where to find me. Kind of Average Watches. Shoot a message to James as well. Watching James. Yeah, the usual. I'll leave all the links. You can send us an email, whatever you want to do. And tell us good things, tell us bad things, whatever you want to say. It's okay. I won't be too offended.
Tell us bad things. I can just imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think whether I had some. Yeah, actually, I have had one. Anyway, I'll save that for another episode. It wasn't so negative. It was just yes, I wasn't expecting the comment. That's all. Let's just put it at that. Anyway, if there's nothing else, we'll leave it right there. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Overtime the Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. You can find us on our Instagram at Overtime the Podcast, at Kinda Average Watches, or flick me an email on overtimethepod@gmail.com. I appreciate your support and value your feedback. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics that you would like the podcast to cover in the future, please hit us up. Until next time.